electric company give that particular area would be able to use level 3?
She's asking if her utility provider doesn't have the infrastructure to support right now a level 3, you know, the amperage or the voltage that comes.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm asking, yes.
Yeah.
We coordinate to make sure that we have enough power to connect all the charging.
Okay, thank you.
This is what we call the grid analysis. Now here, this is our final project that we have. You see there, this is the one point is a level 3 charger, 60 kilowatt. And it is 2 buses, one is 8 and in 106 times. And we have all level 3 chargers.
Millard's cousin got a spike horn.
Also have a table out of the floor. So we use the table on the floor because it's snow, because many things to have our work life for each day.
Yeah, the other thing too, I mean, that I learned from Samira is that you guys are actually testing all the equipment. So there's a lot of different equipment manufacturers out there. And we are testing each charger, the transformers, the distribution cabinets to see how they relate to our product and what type of efficiency we can keep, because you know, electricity acts differently, you can lose efficiency. So I think that's another unique thing where we're testing it on our products before we sell it to the customer. We're not just giving you a list of vendors, right? So these are products that we're going to support as time goes on, both the dealer and the company that we're working with, Blue Energy.
In our company, because we can test all our products with the Google market for now, so we can make sure that it will work for now. And we have also, you know, sometimes, you know, we work also with students with disabilities, so we need to have it assigned in your bus. We have a customer who uses the service, and we contact them directly to make sure how many power that take any components in this bus, to make sure how we can advise our customer and which type of charger we can use to operate the bus.
Go ahead, Linda.
I have a question about the chargers. So is there some kind of software, and if so, who monitors it to know if there's something defective in it? So it's midnight, I've got my bus is charging, and then all of a sudden something's now defective and they're not charging. Is there something that's gonna alert me? Do your staff? And then if so, or am I gonna just come in the morning and realize that bus didn't charge and try and troubleshoot it that way? How does that work?
Yeah, we have a GMS software that helps you to make sure to set dashboards.
Mhm.
You see all the buses that you have in your fleet one by one, and if it's charging or not, and how many kilowatt they are using or not. And if there is a problem, and it's not charging, it's not charging, you can do a diagnosis online to make sure if the problem is coming from the battery, it's coming from the bus battery or the chargers. And if you cannot find the solution, there is someone online who can answer your question and help you to find a solution in time. Or if you cannot, you just come to your location to make sure that everything is working and give you a support. This is what maintenance can do.
Can I
Everything.
elaborate on her question though? Because it's a great question. So many of us like me, I don't live near my garage.
Yeah.
And if that garage has a power outage and we don't know about that power outage, does the software from the charger, is there a way it can alert us through text message or any kind of electronic?
There is notifications, you know, in your software, there is notification, you know, everyone can have access to this software, not all the person who are operating this, they have access to a software. You can know everything, and even sometimes the driver forgets to flush the bus, or he just plug it and go, without making sure if it's charging or not. So you can see this also in your phone and on computer.
Good question. So it's, I kind of get what everybody's asking is, So, and we know that there's a software that we can go in and check, but if you are a supervisor that wakes up at 3 in the morning and you're not checking that before you get to the bus garage, will it like send you like an email alert, like something to say immediately? Let's say it happens at 11 o'clock that night, you'll get that
Yeah,
alert.
there is notification, like all the software that you are using. If you activate notification, you will have a notification of all what's happening. in the
Okay,
town.
okay, awesome.
And one other question I have, just on the charging heads, and Bill, this goes to the question I asked you in our office about, so with the chargers, are all the charger heads universal across the bus lines, or are they specific? Because I had a concern, and I brought this up to Bill, like, I'm gonna do a field trip from Guilderland to Queensbury, and I'm gonna need to charge while I'm up there. We talked about the public chargers
Yeah.
and whatnot. What if Queensbury has, you know, I have Bluebirds and she has Internationals, would I be able to go to the public chargers?
Yeah, so I mean, the charging heads are universal. Some manufacturers only take level 2 or level 3, so that can be the difference.
Mhm.
And, you know, in your scenario, you know, you could have it so that, you know, you could charge a neighboring school district, or you could have it so they can't. So, you know, the chargers are smart chargers. Everything we are selling and providing are smart chargers. So I think, you know, initially, you have a charger, it's set up for the route, it's set up for a bus. You know, and you can expand that system as much as you want, or you can close it down as much as you want. And that is the software package that comes with all the chargers we're recommending. But as far as the heads, yeah, I mean, like National Grid has a plan to do 50,000 chargers, I think, across New York State in the next 2 years. You know, you would be able to use those. The only thing that's different right now are the Tesla chargers, the Tesla head.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, before the meeting ends, that conversation we had, would you articulate the difference between the public chargers and the private ones for the group?
Yeah, so, and there's apps like PlugShare, you can go on PlugShare and you can see all the public chargers, so these would be like at your Market 32s, your Stewarts, and you can make things accessible, and that's the whole entire point, you know, as people start to have more EVs out on the road. With you guys, with school districts, you know, you would still have smart chargers, so they're all connected to the internet, they're all connected to your software, your dashboard, you control everything. They're just private, just like your private wireless network at home. No random person can just come in and start charging. So that would be, I think, what you're looking for.
Well, yeah, but when I asked you about, like, when we talked, you, like, say, got 10 chargers, 2 or 3 of them could be public, where I could have Shenandoah or
Oh.
Queensbury come and put their card in and charge
Yeah.
off my chargers, and would bill back to them.
Yeah, so the software side, kind of towards the end of this, we show like a little RFID card, but that's basically like a fuel card. You know, it's no different, and the electric chargers work the same way. They'll recognize different vehicles doing it or a different account, and you can actually collect income from them, you know, and charge them 20 cents a kilowatt hour, et cetera.
With the Bluebird, we have, now we recommend to you the level 2 chargers to keep a long life for the battery, but Bluebird have a converter inside. We convert the AC charger to DC charger. That if in case you need to charge your bus because you are traveling to another place, that yes, it's universal, you can charge everywhere. So with level 3, level 2, DC or EC, you can charge. It is not exclusive. We don't have a product that works exactly or exclusively with Bluebird. No, our product works with all the buses. And this is what happens in the market. Also, another thing, you know, with level 2 chargers, if you want, you can add revenue generators. Because all of them now that we have, we are able to generate any revenue, but if you want this option, also we add it in our level 2, level 3 full time, DC or DC. Now, DC or fast charge, DC fast charge. I wish now we have this one.
I think of it very much as like Zonar or Versatrans. You know, the sky's the limit, you know, when the dealers first came out talking about, you know, smart notifications, you know, and plugging them into, you know, the chassis, so you can get notifications, you know, like, do you have a light on, or is there an oil change needed? This software is very similar to that, you know, kind of whatever you really want to do, it can do it. It's just a matter of, you know, how much time and how much dedication you want to have somebody to managing that whole part of your cyber operation.
You see that the level 3 charger is a small box in the road, something you can tie the car someone came in this location and want to use a multiple charger, he will pay and that trying to have generate a revenue from this charger.
Hey, Bill. I'm sorry.
No,
I told you I've got a lot of questions. I think I asked this earlier, but I'll ask it again, what the life cycle for the chargers are.
if the chargers now, we don't have any, you have a warranty for 5 years. And when you have a software, your warranty is extended again, so we can change your problem. If there is a problem coming from the chargers, once we diagnose it and okay, the charger cannot work, we replace the charger.
And do you have any data on what the failure rate for the chargers are?
We have it that there is each one has its own small software, but once we install our software, GenE software, we can do more diagnosis. And this is the good thing that we help our clients also to do this type of maintenance. So we will be able to know what's happening in the charger.
Yeah, I guess I'll say too, just because we're on the charger subject. So, one of the things that I think is an advantage is that, we're working with our sister company. It is our goal that, through our GTEX parts department, we're going to have parts on standby. Same thing goes with service, Gerardin has contracted fleets to do electricians to do work on the poles, but we want also our guys to be able to do it, as time goes on. If you need to replace a cable, or if you need to order a new head, there's a plow head, or if you need a new pedestal, working with us, it's a product that will stand behind and support as time goes on. And you don't have to kind of figure out, okay, like I bought that bus in 2015. Who was the charger for that company? And in 2018, I switched over to Blink, and then 2022, I switched over to Juicebox. Because you have to deal with all these different manufacturers.
So here you see, this is our unstart project. This project is unstart like single line, it's like single line. And our engineering also, this is the good market engineering analysis because it helps you to understand all the choice if you want to install your bus a single line or in nose to nose. Which design can help to charge more buses depending to your superficie, the date, the mileage or superficie that you have in your location. So we want to optimize the space that you have in your location to put all devices can be charged there, and also if you have a driver car, or you can be installed. So all these things we
So
have it in the. This is the, okay.
I was just gonna say, so, because we're kind of going with a lot of different questions, everything we talked about in the beginning of the presentation, up until that last slide, that's all included in the fleet study done by Gerardin. And we do the fleet study based on fleet size. So if you're underneath 100 buses, it's a certain fee. If you're over 100 buses to 200, it's another fee. So that's one separate service. You'll find that we have customers taking advantage of that. This is kind of the next service, which is the engineering study. Both of these two studies could be combined, where you basically have a roadmap for the future, blueprint, and they're all covered under the professional services, and they're relatively expensive compared to what you might be paying the consultant to do all this stuff for you, and we give you it as a package. So engineering study.
Yes.
Sorry.
Once you complete the case study, you present the case study to our client to make sure that they understand all what they need in their location. And we start with engineering analysis. The engineering analysis is the design of the part. So here you see this are most to know, there is like 18 or 20 buttons are all parts of most to know. And the other side is a single one. So depending to what you have in your location when you design this, and you present you the design, change the design to make sure that you access and you agree to continue with the design. Or if you have any things to make to change, like here you see the white bottle is a propane tank. So the client say, okay, I will not see of this propane tank now, so I need to install my button. Made the garage and the propane tank, so we can create everything. And our engineering team also now with Canadian electric board and the American electric board, which helps to put everything in the safety manner.
In your engineering study, that you do, or, police study, when you come and, take a look at a particular fleet, one of the things that we probably all think about is, depends on where you live, how often it might happen, is what are the power outages? Is that planned in the fleet study? Do you take that into consideration at all? For instance, if a particular garage does not have a generator backup system in order to power electric buses, because the last thing we need is to have our flow of school because we have power outage. The other question more or less has to do, we talked about power management. What about time management? Time management on the fleet end, what does it take to run an electric fleet, from your experiences so far? Because many of us are overburdened already and driving school buses and doing other jobs. Now we're talking about having, apps on our phones and everything, we can work 24 hours a day managing our power. So what does it take with regards to that?
Yeah. So, we're the bus guys. I didn't see what you wanted.
I'm just telling you, this is what we gotta consider.
I mean, yesterday we had, presentation boards at education members, like, they're not even this far deep, they're like, wait a minute, the bus doesn't go over 100 miles, and they're asking Samira, so Samira can only make the buses turn as quickly as they can. I can only make them go, as far as they can. Time management, it's a great question, and I think it goes with much of the software that you have nowadays. More data always means you have to have more eyes looking at it, right? You can collect all this data, if you don't have anybody to look at it, it makes no sense. So, the idea for our perspective is to offer you a solution that reduces you having to get a facilities director completely educated on EV buses, calling a consultant, deal with an architect. Architect's got to farm out, how do you deal with charging 100 buses at once? We're trying to provide a one-stop
So they'll pretty
solution.
much manage the power side for you.
When you get set up, yeah, they set you up with the power management side, and obviously that's gonna change, your first year when you have 5 buses, it's gonna look a lot different, in year 5 when you got 50 buses. So, they are working with the customers to optimize that. There's also other things going on the grid side, which I didn't even know about until recently, but, the grid, like National Grid, like they have their own side, and they can tell you like when power is cheaper, through interaction, they can tell you when there's more clean energy going through the grid. And also, you're probably gonna get set up on a completely different billing plan, but it's a completely different setup. So yes, it's a lot more time, there's a lot of planning, and that's why, we're kind of saying, hey, we're starting now. It's not crazy, because so far, we've known about the mandate for, 8 or 10 months, maybe longer, maybe even a year, I don't know, that's why. But it hasn't changed yet, it hasn't been delayed, So, and then going back to what you talked about, I think going back to what you talked about with like backup generators. So, on the other slide, Samira, we had, since they're the engineers, if you want to have a solar farm that feeds into a backup battery, or you want to have natural gas generators, you want diesel generators, the sky's the limit, right? I mean, now I'm reading about hydrogen fuel cells that are gonna power, lots of charging banks for EVs, as a fuel cell that charges that. So that's where we have the engineers, they can integrate that if you do have an existing generator into like a resiliency or like a future-proof type situation. But she's not probably going to keep power going on for the if it goes out.
Well, obviously, when you start going with 4 or 5 buses, it's a lot different than 20 or 30 buses. But I
Exactly.
envision like Belinda said, what's the failure rates with the charger? What happens if the charger fails and that bus isn't ready to go the next morning, A lot of stuff we have to consider.
And you
So-
said you have really difficult time with the location. I did picture from the panel. I did picture from their parking. I saw for in the area of the people going and next to the location. And when they have all this information, they can directly call them and say, okay, how much is the cost your project? But now you answer it, so I don't have any final in your location, but I want to say this line doesn't have enough power in his garage. So, but next to the location, there are 3 phases. So we are starting out with small box here next to the garage. This is a long one. We have small box here and then on this, started in the line, which is 3 buttons. So we need to operate this by 300 amperes. So 300 amperes It doesn't have a meeting in garage to have this power, so we need everything, we can start a low voltage location, which is like that, so you show you. Maybe you see also the containers, some clients are selling the container, but the container is not accessible for all the municipality or the city plants. So this is a low voltage. To show you there. We need a transformer. So we need a transformer, 200 amperes or 400 amperes, depending what you need, that with everything in there. This is a machine. This is the distributor. So we have distributor for each, I think 20 bars or 3 bars, we have a distributor. Then we have two, because we have also the DC, the rotating charger, we need to have a typical breaker. And very good switchgear. Having anything, you can control from here and stop the power for all of the switches. So this is all connected in one on the stair. It's a small, you can put it everywhere and don't think about it, like all the electric components that you see in here in the TV. Doesn't need to be, remove the smell from it or have any maintenance in there. We have a guy who can come sometime a year or 1 to 2 years, that's to ensure that it is working. So this is our engineering team. We have also outside a container if needed, but we don't recommend to have a container. It's for having a container, it needs to have 3 distributors. For each 10 buses or 8 buses, you need 1 distributor, about 1 meeting, 1 big meeting for all of them. And the transformer and distributor for each 10 to 12 buses. And in the container, you need to have a DC. Having there, you need to have to do 1 type of comparator in the file. And not only this file to access that. Also, this one, now we have 20 buses. So we are going to buy 20 buses. But in the future, we will add 30 or 10 more. So we can have from now only distribute the transformer with 200 amperes. In the future, we get like the limit of this transformer. We came and say, okay, we need another one. We buy only this one, and we still sell the new one with 300 amperes. We can upgrade it as much as we want. But for the container, once it's installed, we cannot upgrade everything. Then we have every cable coming underneath. There is no cable, the shower somewhere, everything is safe to install and really high level of safety.
Now, what about, that doesn't provide any electrical storage at all, so in the event of a power failure, I mean, I know there's vehicle to grid, which is a whole nother subject.
If you are planning like this distributor can work with wind energy, solar energy, or another type of energy.
Or our diesel power generators, right?
Yeah. If we need a power generator, because we have.
He's gonna be showing the
Also,
number.
in the application, also, on driving, power generators.
So one of the things I'll say too is, like, with the engineering study, if you did want to incorporate VG, because we all know there are certain companies out there that are trying to really push VG because that's what makes their model profitable for them. You need a much bigger back end, much more communication with the utility. So Jordan Energy can do that and figure it out for you, but your upfront cost, it's gonna cost more, right? So, I mean, that's something to consider. COVID, like many things. But this one's going out in Batavia, and basically we're trying to get in there by January. We use Jordan Energy. For us, we found that we had to buy our own land, couldn't lease a building. We wanted to make sure the power was available. It's located in a very industrial area. And we use Jordan Energy to get with Lavella, our architects, to design our parking. You can see in the red, they designed that parking to maximize, charging for the conduit, the cable and chargers. And then we also laid, it's sort of future-proof, right? So this could be something schools can do, cable through parking, so we can, in the future, support up to 80 school buses. But that shop is going online with charging for 20 vehicles. And this is an example where, I have some schools where you just look at it and the buses are barely parked inside, they're hanging out, it's on the side of the school. You're never gonna be able to operate a full electric fleet with that facility. So if you have an infrastructure project coming up with your business manager, or you're due for a new garage, or you just realize hey, this isn't possible, we can start from the very beginning to make things a lot easier. And I think Samira's proven now, we can also come and try to retrofit your facility to make it work, whether it's redesigning parking, coming up with hanging chargers. So, as a dealer, we made the moves, right? And it's not cheap, So we are learning firsthand how to go about installing infrastructure. And, this is the experience that Jordan Energy brings. You'll find out we've got over 70 projects underway right now.
That's how we have charged indoor and outdoor.
Yeah, so indoor and outdoor,
And the
employee
solution
charging as
that we
well.
have- Solution also the same, there is some charge back that we put outdoor versus indoor.
Oh, so we are doing a shed for that? Yeah, so basically what this you'll see from this, when you get if you were to hire Jordan Energy, you get basically the bills. We have what we're calling chargebacks, right? And each chargeback can support up to a certain amount of buses. And they're future-proofed in that, you want to sell us some of the components back because now you need to support 40 buses, you can do that.
And at very efficiency, energy efficiency, because most of our now competitors talk about 30% of walls. So you pay they are there with $1,000, but you are using only $7,700. But with the chargeback, you have 90% efficiency, which is something that the product is designed and tested in-house. And we started applying this now, obviously. There also we talk about project. Here is, this is a typical client. He bought a buses, but he wants something to electrify his fleet quickly. So we have a temporary installation for him. Once we complete all the work, we install the sidewalk, the chargers, we will remove this and we will install the charge back after that. Just a temporary solution because we think about infrastructure after buying the bus, which doesn't give us much time to complete, enough time to complete all the study. So for that, I said, once you are thinking about a electric vehicle, it would be good to think about infrastructure 6 months before, to make sure that you have everything installed before the bus starts.
And you might see extended delays from the utility as well. So we do provide in the study an ARO of how far long each component will take to install to get. But also having that communication with your utility is important. You definitely got to let them know.
Yeah, we have also with Jordan, with the energy solution, we have a project manager who take care of all the projects. It's one person that you contact if you need anything from the study to installation to software. Everything you have one person to contact, and he is the one who is managing your project till the day he give you the key to complete to start and do the go live of your project.
This is your dashboard.
This is the dashboard. The dashboard is a power management, e-control. We talked about how time it will take to manage this. Now, we all know your driver are driving their buses without any problem, and it should be the same with electric vehicle. Why it will be the same? Because it's a knowledge that we will show that we give them. We will give the training to make sure that all the drivers can operate their bus without any problem, that you have the control, you know what's happening. you know, the charging, you know, the mileage for every day, the power that you are using every day. This is the functionality that you have with your electric vehicle.
I have a question about the training. So you're saying you train drivers and I think you train mechanics. With this, with, you know, the dashboard and all that, is there training for dispatchers or IT? Because now we're looking at, our dispatchers are gonna have to.
We're gonna have to hire
basically-
people in order to run this.
Right,
There's no
learn
other
how to
way.
redispatch and use this tool, you know, making sure that buses are running properly and charged properly and all that stuff. So is there anybody offering any training on that end, or is that been talked about?
Would you really recommend that it would take an additional staff? I mean, to be honest, when you're presenting to boards and stuff like that, could you say, yes, this is gonna take one additional staff member?
So
No, we
So
answer
they-
everything.
They also have like a very different setup in Quebec, like, you know, when we have these meetings, so, you know, you guys have large fleets, contractor fleets up there.
We ask for many projects in Quebec and really they don't need any additional, you know, resources to operate their fleet because it's something simple, you know, the dashboard is not complicated. You know, we talk about IT, but it's not deep IT things, it's simple to use. You know, I don't have my laptop with me, I show you how it is shown the dashboard. You can easily go and see what's happening in your parking, if it's charging or not, and press the data, press everything that you need using this, like using your iPhone or your phone. It's easy to use, it's not something complicated. And the driver should know this also, because every driver will have a card like that, and small one that can put in the case. Because if he doesn't have this card, he cannot charge. This is like the case to, when you tap the card on the charger, give you like the red light to charge your bus or not. So it will be easy to use all this information. I don't think it's that much.
Well, with, as far as like the dashboard, and again, I understand what everyone's saying, when, especially when you have multiple screens up, Versatran, whatever it is you're using, you have all these different things going on at once that you're watching all at the same time. And then also to add this on, that wouldn't be a hard thing to say, for us to say, you know what, we would need someone, you know, to have training on this. So they, you know, is that available for you to be able to train someone outside of like I said, a dispatcher, routing specialist, someone like that to say, okay, you know, there's software training. We have someone that can do like a webinar or something like that, just to make everybody comfortable, because once we start our day, we have to go. Like, so even though it may look simple on screen here, when we start our day, we need to make sure that we know what we're looking at, what the special.
And also on that too is, as for the IT, and I don't know, I'll speak for my district, I don't know what everybody else is, but all of our software, whatever it is, we do not manage. Our IT department is. So if my GPS is down, I gotta call them. If my, you know, whatever is not working, I have to call them. So for this, transportation wouldn't manage it. It wouldn't manage it. It would be our IT. That's why I was asking like for
You still see
troubleshooting.
your fuel levels, I mean, I assume and get readouts on that. I mean, the alternative is no data, right? Chargers that have no interface, chargers that charge every single time you plug in, chargers that don't tell you if your bus is plugged in or not. Just like you do your Christmas, we're gonna be doing our Christmas tree in a month, you know, you just plug it in. I mean, the idea is to have smart chargers, so you have all of this information, you know, you can have those notifications if you want, especially during the training period. You can set the power schedule, you know, and the grid, and honestly, your utilities, they're gonna demand it from the schools too eventually, because, you know, they're not gonna be able to support every single bus charging at the same time. You know, so it's in their interest too that, you know, we all as basically as a society start using, you know, smart chargers. It's regulated, I will say this, it's regulated in the UK right now. So, I mean, we don't tend to fall far behind to get a jump on this.
So
Which I would
that,
like to confirm, you know, that's answer for question, because the day when there is an installation there is someone from New Energy Solution on site to supervise all the installation and make sure that all the features are installed. And this is the guy that will give the training. Now you have the maximum 4 hours of training, and it's depends to you which the person, the resources that you want to send for this training. It's your choice, it's not our choice. We said, okay, we want to train supervisor or IT team or So it's depends to you who say, okay, there is 4 person or 6 people that will be there attending the training. And once we finish, and the guy will be there, so if you don't understand the training, you can there until you finish.
If you get a hot, you know, you're gonna have customer service call through the same way you do with your zoners, your first
And,
transponders.
and we
So-
have 24 hours support also. If you need anything, there is a company behind this dashboard that helps everyone to understand what happened in the.
So is this server-based or web-based? In other words, if this is software that gets put on our server, I'm with her. I need my IT specialist because I don't have access to my server. If this is a web-based and you're hosting our data on web, then I can see where we could just call your customer service if we need to troubleshoot. So which one are we? Are we on web or server?
You have two choices because we do business with another company, which is Transit, that asks us to integrate the software in their server. So we extract the data. There is another side because we integrate the software in their server to make sure that everything is working correctly. But it is a web, also web server can use it. Like you have, if you want to have, who has a car, electric car here? Or one has an electric car.
I bring it up.
So if you have an electric car. You have an electric car, there is a software that's It's a software, so having a software you have to buy, it's a web software.
Well, it's because it really just matters. So we would actually, so like, I mean, just my way my mind's thinking right now. So I would access this through Chrome. Like going through Google Chrome, have my link, get in with my credentials and my information would be stored out there. That's in my feeling is because I have some software like our VersaTrend stuff that's server based, and sometimes we have to get 2 people involved to get our software fixed, and that takes a lot of time. So a web-based product may be a better solution, I think, in this.
All the
scenario.
information is stored also the data in the cloud. You have
Mhm.
access to this data, you have the key to have access and extract this data.
Okay.
And it depends to you which school districts can decide if they want this.
Mhm.
Their server.
Well, again,
or
IT
web.
would have to be involved because of security breaches,
Yeah,
you know, so we definitely,
Way to go with anything like this.
huh?
It's web-based, web-based.
like
The only way to go nowadays.
Mhm.
Our IT people don't even want to deal with this stuff.
AWS.
yeah.
No, but I mean, listen, it's not a secret. We've had a security breach, so we're under complete lockdown.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we can't even access websites that aren't like already approved by our district. So, you know, because of the security breach, they're pretty tight in our district. So everything, even doing this web-based and I'm giving us access to it out on the web would have to still involve my IT department.
For the training, if it's, you see, it's 4 hours, not enough than other hours, depending to each client. We have, I have to say that we have, I'm not knowledge, we have different solutions to adapt the solution to our clients' needs. So there is no one solution that we
Okay.
install everywhere. Friends of our clients know New York, so not all because we have some. And this is a small business, some project that we complete also in that. So we are doing business with a company who has 2 buses, 300 buses, 500 buses. So we do the project, we study, grid study, engineering and installation. We talk about turnkey, so we take care of all the projects.
Can you talk about the timeline, so about how long, so again, I go back to the data stuff, so, we've had clients who want to do the fleet study, but, they either change their minds in the beginning of the year. And now, it's difficult to have a sit down and, be able to collect all that information. So just in general, with most of the clients, we talk about kind of the timeline for each thing.
Yeah, we collect the data. There is some school districts who will do their homework correctly. So we send the data, take time and start to work. But this study takes from 5 to 7 weeks, depending to the data that came from clients. So for that, there is some, this is that you track their buses, gas buses for every day, how many kilometers or miles that they have, their gasoline or propane invoice, and also we give us all this information. We quickly send them the study. Engineering can take also 7 weeks, 6 to 7 weeks. And once everything is completed, we start the procurement and the installation. And for the charge pack, now we have a delay like about 28 weeks. But starting December, this delay will be really reduced to 20 or 15 weeks that we have now. Because we are working with many from the company that we are testing the product this year. So for that, and this year I think it's particular because everywhere there is a delay in the supply chain process.
Yeah, and just so you kind of understand, so basically, Samir is my inside sales representative. So the way we've been doing everything, because, you know, all the dealers are very close with their clients, you know, clients kind of say, hey, this is what we're interested in. I reach out to Samira. Samira can give you a cost of the fleet study with everything, what it would detail. Same thing with the engineering study, what it would detail, you know, and there's also add-ons if you wanted to, but you can then take that that quote and, you know, show your administrators, look at this is the information you're getting. You know, I think it's advantageous for us to do this now, given timelines, and it kind of works that way. So that's how we set everything up right now.
I have a question. Can you give us a copy of the presentation so we could email it out
Oh, yeah, digital, yeah.
so we could email it out to everybody because we didn't get it hooked up to the Zoom link. So for
Yeah.
everybody that's on Zoom,
Yep.
I'd like to send it out.
I have a few, yeah, I have a few copies too. There's a few slides that are missing, but could be updated, but yeah, if you want a copy here.
If you have question, also you have email, so you can send us question if you have any questions.
Yeah, I have no questions off of
So
Zoom
fleet
right
study,
now.
so for under 100 school buses, $5,000. We can bill it into our school buses the same way you do your two-way radios, cameras. And the engineering study, I think the starting price is $15,000. So basically, that's all covering professional services. So it's the same way, you know, most schools have an architect that they, you know, go to year after year after year without going to bid for, you know, that particular project. That is kind of the pricing structure we set up so far for this year. If you have over 100 buses, I don't know the price off the top of my head, but it's not anything crazy. Same thing with engineering study. You know, if you want to start incorporating like backup resiliency or VDG or basically anything, they'll tell you, you know, how much more that would cost. The engineering study cannot be billed to our school bus. Most of the invoicing and everything is going to go through us because you guys are already set up with vendors as us. I think that's kind of how we're approaching things. So, you know, you'd be writing purchase orders to us, and then we in turn pay New Energy Solution for New Energy.
Grade study, if you have grade study, also you can add the grade study, you can add the B2G engineering part. So this is optional, like B2Gs are optional, these are also that we add in our engineering study. And if you have any question or additional, you know, information, you can ask that. And also on this today, like we do show you what you need if you want to switch to electric vehicle. Some of school districts or clients leave this job with a consultant, so we pay a consultant to show them what they need, and then they contact a company to give them the field study and the engineering. So there's a cost saving when we show you what you need, and if you want to go with the electric vehicle, directly you do business with a company.
Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of one of the things that we got into yesterday, but like, so the project management aspect, I know schools have to follow a lot of different rules and, you know, what we have to do as a private business. So most of the times right now, we're really just starting off with the fleet study, the engineering study. If it gets into, if you actually want to do the project management, where they manage all the vendors, probably a conversation with Stephen and Jeremy. But like we said, we're saying, start off small. It's a blueprint, whether you want to use us for the project management, whether you want to use the equipment or not, at least you get a competitive quote, you know, how much our equipment is, the hardware itself. And, you know, if you go to another installer or another engineer, you have something that's tangible that, you know, you can use to check their work.
Also for the grants, we do help our clients to apply for the grants. So some of them, when they ask to do the work on behalf of them, especially in Quebec, so we handle everything on behalf of our client. But here in New York, so if you need any documentation, you need any codes, previous reports, so you like that, you can send, apply to the grant. We got This is a second portion that we add in our process, help our client to better understand and to see what all the grants in their area that might be applied to their project.
How local are you? Where is your base here? In New York?
So, well, I mean, our New York bus sales shop, the San Marino, they are based off the outside Montreal. So headquarters are for micro manufacturing. And, all of our shops, as we start to integrate this, the idea right now, so we separated our parts department about a few years ago. So if you call us right now, it says press 1 for service. It says press 2 for G-Tech Parts. So G-Tech Parts is another one of our industry, another one of our businesses, very much like Parts Warehouse. We carry parts for all school bus manufacturers. And all of our employees that worked on our parts side switched over, became G-Tech employees. So they all sit in the same spot. You call the same extensions, same people who've been working with us for 20, 25 years are still there. The idea is that as we start to develop this, we're only about 16 months into it, it's crazy. You get a press 3 for Girard Energy, and it sends you to wherever you need to go.
Yes, I do agree with you.
I'm sorry, Girard Energy, yeah.
In Newark, with the city, so we are all office will be there.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
So we are moving to.
Oh, sorry.
So,
You're never gonna be invited.
I'm sorry,
back.
I'm never gonna come back again, it's my last time. Why the Batavia project? Well, that's way out there. Was curious why you decided to do that project out Batavia.
So we have a shop that was out in Rochester, and part of the problem with that shop is it wasn't scalable to do electric. So we've been having different projects since we were basically purchased by Superbird Capital, they're called. And that's where that shop started. And as you can imagine, we're working our way across the state. So that one was just released first.
Any other questions? I want to thank everybody for coming out today and seeing us, and those online, please try to join us next month. We really want to get back to doing in-person meetings. But I do understand we are going to stream every meeting just in case you can't make it. I am looking at my phone, just to get the date of the next meeting. Next meeting will be December 15th. That is going to be sponsored by Leonard Bus Sales. Roman is sponsoring that. So we will be getting theirs. I kind of planned everybody, the bus companies to be the first 3 because this is something we are moving towards. And I wanted you guys to get the knowledge base from all of the manufacturers.
Is Paul Overblock coming to our next meeting as well?
I believe so. So there was a question on McKinney-Vento. I do have Paul on the agenda for talking about our requirements with McKinney-Vento and transporting students. And so Pete had asked if we could get Paul, and Paul has agreed to attend our next meeting. So we will be having that meeting here. I will secure the date and I'll